Beneath the world of light lay a labyrinth without end, a realm of endless tunnels and colossal caverns, stretching deep into the heart of the earth. The four great kingdoms of the underworld had lived in delicate balance for ages untold. The humans of Eridoth, builders of iron and fire, whose greed burned brighter than their forges. The Galleons, proud humanoid chickens, radiant in feathers and song, dwelling in crystal roosts that shimmered with heat and light. The Alnarai, graceful humanoid llamas, keepers of art and silk, whose hanging gardens swayed beneath ceilings that glowed like constellations. And the Rogans, colossal humanoid rhinos, guardians of the molten rivers, whose citadels of stone and bone marked the deepest reaches of the underworld. For many ages, they traded and thrived in uneasy peace. But greed, as always, grew in the hearts of men. One day, a human miner returned from the lowest tunnels bearing a fragment of radiant gold. It shimmered with a warmth unknown to surface metals. The king of Eridoth saw this as a sign, a gift meant for them alone. They desired it, and in their lust for more, they chose war. The drums of conquest echoed through the hollows. The first war of the depths began. The humans struck first against the Galleons, their forges unleashing fire and steel upon the crystal roosts. The skies of the cavern blazed red as feathers turned to ash. The Galleons, though fierce, could not withstand the tide of flame. Their cities fell. Their kin were enslaved. And their once melodious voices became cries of servitude. Next came the Almarai. The humans marched upon their silk gardens and sacred halls. The Almarai fought with elegance and sorrow, their blades weaving through the air like ribbons of silver. Even grace cannot stand before iron. Their cities were razed, their temples toppled, and their artistry turned to labor under human command. Only the Rogans remained. When the humans reached their lands, they met resistance unlike any before. The Rogans stood like mountains, unyielding, ancient, and terrible. Their hammers shattered human lines, and their roars drowned the thunder of war. But the humans had already learned from their past conquests. They wielded stolen Gallian fire, Almarai silk-forged armor, and the cunning of their own engineers. The final battle raged for weeks in the molten depths. The air turned to fire. The ground cracked beneath oceans of blood. At last, the Rogans fell. Eridoth stood supreme. The humans, in their triumph, declared themselves rulers of the deep earth. Yet beneath the roar of victory, the soil trembled faintly, as if something older than kings had begun to stir. Years passed, and the human empire grew vast and cruel. Their banners of iron hung over every conquered realm. The galleons labored in the forges. The Almarai wove silks for their masters. The Rogans were all but extinct, reduced to legend and bone. In the deepest vaults of the fallen Rogan citadel, human miners unearthed an ancient crown, an intricate of molten gold fused with obsidian and carved in runes of warning. It pulsed faintly, as though it still lived. The king of Eridoth claimed it for himself, naming it the Crown of Dominion, and placed it upon his brow before the blackened forges. From that moment, the curse awoke. The forges blazed with unnatural fury. Armies multiplied, clad in gilded armor that shimmered like sunlight. The king's eyes turned to liquid gold, his voice to thunder. He commanded the rebuilding of his empire anew, to delve deeper, to take what was left of the Rogans' treasure, and crush the last remnants of their kind. Thus began the Second War of the Depths. The Rogans, few but unbroken, gathered in the cavern of their Garoth. They fought like the mountains themselves, charging through fire and steel. The galleons, forced to serve in the human legions, rained torches and flame from above, while the Almarai, their hearts torn, loosed arrows woven from the silks of their own temples. The cavern burned with light. Rogan warlords fell by the hundreds, yet they shattered armies as they died. The humans advanced behind their cursed king, whose golden crown blazed like a dying sun. When the final Rogan fortress collapsed, the last of their kind sealed themselves beneath the earth, their spirits bound to stone. The humans rejoiced in hollow triumph. But soon, the curse began to devour them. The king's body hardened into gold. His generals turned upon one another. Famine swept through the forges. Rebellion rose among the enslaved. The galleon's wings blackened, the Almarai's silks decayed to dust. Tunnels cracked, and the air filled with the stench of molten blood. The golden crown pulsed like a heart, feeding on the ruin it had made. And deep beneath, something vast began to move. The world itself groaned in fury. The tremors grew until they shook the world. The walls of Eridoth split. Towers fell. Forges burst like volcanoes. Then, from the abyss below, came the first of the Earth Titans. Ancient gods of stone, born before all races, shaped from the bones of creation. The Titan of stone rose in the heart of the capital, its body a mountain come alive. Human armies unleashed fire and arrows, but their weapons cracked and melted against its hide. From the rivers of magma burst the Titan of fire, a colossal serpent whose breath turned iron to dust. The galleons, caught in its path, were consumed in flames, but from their ashes rose a storm of molten feathers that fell like meteors upon the battlefield. The Titan of soil emerged, shaking the ruins of the Almarai. But instead of wrath, it offered freedom. The ground itself rose to shatter the chains of their oppressors. Then came the Titan of silence, a being of shadow and stillness. Where it passed, all sound vanished. The screams, the steel, the drums, all faded into eternal hush. In that final silence, the last battle of Eridoth began. Humans, galleons, and Almarai fought beneath collapsing skies as the Titans waged war upon the cursed crown. The king's statue cracked apart, releasing rivers of molten light that drowned the caverns. The crown screamed as it sank into the abyss, its power devoured by the earth that had birthed it. Titans stood above the ruins, unmoving until all flames died. Then, their task done, they sank back into the stone. The tunnels sealed behind them. The underworld was silent once more. Centuries passed. The dust settled. The bones of empires turned to ore, and the ruins of cities became glittering veins of crystal. New creatures began to stir in the depths. Tiny, unknowing, innocent. The cycle had begun again. And though the Titans slept, the earth remembered.